Here we are, another episode of the Artistry of Podcast. It is I, your host, first of his name, the Warriors King. Look, we back at it, okay? I do want to make, a few notes that we have. Last week's episode, which I can't even think of the name of the episode or the number. I'm not sure if it's 124. I'm not sure if it's 125. But last week's episode, for some reason, it was cut down to 1 hour and 9 minutes. And I think I realized it either Sunday or Monday. And then I fixed it. So I think I realized it Sunday or Monday, and then I fixed it. So I stretched out the file and then re-uploaded it or replaced it with the 90-minute. It's like 94 minutes. So if you were listening to last week's episode and it just cut off without the Reese's, right? If you was just listening and it cut off without that, then I fixed it. So that's a note. Another thing is, look, we out here, okay? We out here. When it's cold outside, I got the month of May. We have to embrace the obstacle. Embrace the obstacle. Because the fact that there is an obstacle, the fact that there is a problem, that means that you can overcome it, and you will overcome it. You just have to keep moving forward and show the universe, show the world that you are ready for the next obstacle. So far as the music, we have the music up on Spotify, and we have 2 more albums dropping that's already queued up, right? It takes a couple weeks before it posts. So we have 2 more projects that are posted, that are ready, queued up, ready to go. And we are working on a 4th project, right? So I'm working on the 4th project. I have the first song written and the music is done for the most part. I just have to bring it together. The second song, I have the music, and now I just have to write the words. So I'm going to do that right after this podcast. I'm going to get started on the second song for this new project. And this new project, like this is exciting. Like I'm excited because of the direction, right? The direction that it's going. I feel like, all right, this direction is unique. The concept is unique, but I don't feel like the music is going to be so far out there that people are going to be like, oh man, what is this? But it could be, right? Which would be good as well. But I don't think it's going to be so far out there that you're not going to be able to comprehend what type of music it is. But the concepts and what's pulling it together and what's governing it is unique. So I'm very excited. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a song. Like I said, I have one written and the music done. So once I bring it together, then I'm going to queue up and put it in the queue. So instead of just having a collection of 12 songs, I'm going to release a song at a time. So right after I write this second song, then I'm going to record the first song and then have it up in queue. And then the next day, record the second song, put that up in queue, and then work on the third song. So that's going to be my rhythm. So where a song is dropping, I want to get it to where a song is dropping every day. Right? So the only thing I really have to do is just, I guess, give myself a week. Give myself a week. And then that way, because sometimes I can do maybe 2 songs a day or whatever, right? But I'm not going to just release it all as one project like these last 3 projects. So yeah. So, that's what's going on with the music. And the obstacle is selling. It's selling music. Because ultimately, like, that's what I need to do. I need to sell this music. I need to build a fan base. Now, we have some people, right? We have artists, but everyone has their life. Everyone has their own life. And I can't wait for others. Like, I just can't. That's just not my personality. Like, I can't wait for you. I can't. Because if we think about it, remember last week we talked about golden shovels. Well, from that, and we spoke about this before. This is a reoccurring theme. Okay, this is something that you're going to deal with and face forever. It's the journey from New York to LA to California for the gold rush, to the West, the new frontier. So you're in New York and you're coming down, you're going to the West Coast, you're going to this new place, and you have a whole entourage, you have a whole caravan of travelers, of new settlers. And when they come to the mountains, right when they get to the mountains, some of them are going to have a choice to make. Are we going to keep going or are we going to stop for a little bit? And depending on the circumstances of the people in there, some chose to stay right at the foot of the mountains. They didn't even go up in the mountains. They stopped right at the foot. And they made a home for themselves, and they made a family, and they made a legacy for themselves. Some went up in the mountains. Some died. Some stopped in the mountains and made a home for themselves. Some crossed the actual mountains, got past it, and maybe somebody was pregnant. They had to go ahead and stop, and they had to give birth. They had to tend to whatever. But a small number of people actually made it to the West Coast for whatever reason. And that is what we will face time and time and time again, is that as you go from the East Coast to the West Coast, this journey is intense, and for whatever reasons, people will opt out. But if your goal is to go to the West Coast, then you can't stop. So all those people who stopped in between, they stopped in Ohio, they stopped in Michigan, they stopped in Virginia, they stopped in the Carolinas, they stopped in Wisconsin. They stopped in Illinois. They stopped in Missouri. They stopped in Nevada. They stopped in Arizona. Right? There's so many places to stop, and if you choose to stop, that's fine. But I can't stop. I can't wait, because each moment that I'm waiting, I have to cover that back up. So now that we're bringing it back to the music, I can't wait for someone to take this serious, for someone to believe in their self. Because it is hard. Like, make no question about it that it is hard. But the fact that it has been done means that it can be done. It can be done. So we have to keep that in mind, that it can be done.
Let me introduce you to Bo Miles, a unique and likable guy. Everyday life, friends and family makes up the artist's dream.
Yes, this journey may be scary, because the unknown is scary. The unknown is scary. It is so much easier when you have someone there with you. But be comfortable with these solo journeys, because others will join you. Know that. Know that others will join you. Now, we had a shooting, a devastating shooting, and this was maybe last week, I think. And that's just horrible. And normally I really don't speak on current events, just because everyone is talking about it. So you guys, I don't need to beat a dead horse. But this is just awful. And I'm a very empathetic person. So I don't want to take on the feelings of the survivors, because it's horrible. It's horrible. So what I will say to my listeners is that I love you. And no matter what you're going through, this journey that you're experiencing called life, it may be tough. You may have all types of crazy things going on, not knowing if you're going to be homeless tomorrow. Not knowing if soldiers are going to zero in and find your location and bomb it, right? Not knowing if you're going to be able to provide for your family and make sure that they can eat or have somewhere to live, right? We have all types of lives. But you can do it. Like I said in the beginning, that each mountain that you come to, each obstacle that you come to, you can overcome it. So hang in there. Hang in there. Because as insane of an act that was, going into an elementary school and attacking unarmed children, as insane as that is, any one of us can find ourselves in that position. Any one of us can. And it's only those who have experienced the darkness of life that can understand. That can understand where, all right, well, I can see. Because, like, I remember being in dark places and having dark thoughts. And I don't dwell on those, but I remember them. And I feel like I need to remember so that I can become stronger for the next dark moment. So I can be just a little bit stronger for the next time. Because it rains on the just and the unjust alike. Now, what was his deal? I don't know. I can't speak to, okay, he was bullied. I can't speak to none of that. I can't speak to it because I don't understand that. Right? But I do understand that if one person can do it, more people can do it. Right? If we just look at the Jews, and we're going to actually speak, because I had one of our listeners, he wanted to hear the thoughts on Hitler, the Hitler conspiracy. So I'm going to speak on that. But when we look at that time and we look at the atrocities, the total annihilation of human right. On one hand, we see Hitler, right? We see Hitler and we see the Nazi Party, but on the other hand, we see a whole nation supporting. We see a whole nation supporting this idea of rounding them up and getting them away from where they are. Because, all right, we're on this side of the pond, so we get to see the brutality and the killings, but you got to believe that people of that time in those cities and those places, that they didn't truly understand what was happening. Right? Some people just believed, hey, they're just moving them out of the city. They're just moving them out of the city, but they didn't really know what was happening. And it's kind of like our food, would it be cattle industry? It's just, once you turn something to a large scale, I mean, the brutality, it becomes very, very far from what we imagine. When you think of the cows and chickens, camels. Like I've watched several videos, just the slaughterhouse and the routine and the effectiveness of warehouse and and industry. When you just think of the effectiveness of it, because all right, you got the farm down the street, and it's like, okay, look, all right, it's time for, they're gonna put a cow down or they're gonna put a pig down, right? Let's say you have a farm, you have a little small farm, and your pig is now ready to be slaughtered, or your cow is now ready to be slaughtered. You have one or two ways you could do it yourself, or you call your local trauma restoration. You call your local cattle processing, right? Whatever the name that they're going to have, whatever the name they're going to have for it. But that's who you would call. You're either going to do it or you're going to call him. Then they come, you and the kids, you and the family, y'all go to a separate part, right? You go somewhere else. Maybe if you're the father, you're going to stay there and watch and make sure that everything goes smoothly, far as he's not trying to cheat you out of whatever, right? Out of meat and organs. And you're going to divide up, okay, look, you're either going to pay in meat and organs, or look, we're going to just pay you this fee. He's going to come. He's either going to use like an air gun, or he's going to use a shotgun, or he's going to, do whatever, right? This is just one. You're doing one cow, maybe, because a small farm might only have room for like 1 to, I would say, 1 to 10, right? That's a lot, really. Or one pig, 1 to 10. I mean, 10 is a lot, right? And I'm sure if you've driven from the Midwest to the West, that you've seen huge cattle bins where they have hundreds of cows and hundreds of pigs, and right. So even that now is small, right, compared to some of these mega processing centers. So just on a small level, all right, you get one every so and so amount of time, and that one cow or that one pig, you're going to live off of that for a long time. I would say maybe a year, maybe 2 years, you're going to live off of just that one cow and that one pig. At least like 6 to 8 months. So you're going to, that's going to take you a long way, right? We're talking about just small scale. So you have that, the intimacy of, okay, this guy's coming, this is his job. He's probably the only one in the town. He comes and he processes the cattle. Versus is the these mega farms. I mean, they're so big that, I mean, I'm not even sure that they're even called farms anymore. Right? Like when they take out these cows, I mean, they just look, it's like a conveyor belt. And they're just moving them along, and they hit them with the air gun. A lot of times they have like a one of those wires that it'll hook the cow by the leg and just pull them, just hoist them up and they just got them by like the back leg. So you got all of that weight. So what happens, and the tightness of that wire, so it breaks the leg, and then it just like rips the skin. The cow is hanging upside down. They put the air gun to his head, bang, drop him in another section so that they can cut off his head. Then they just skin him. I mean, it's done quick as far as the whole process. So that they're terminating or processing a bunch of cows a day. They're just having jokes. They're making fun. They're just having a good time. They have some going that way. They have some where they all bring them down in this real tight corridor, this real tight little space. It's real tight, and then they slit their throat and just let them bleed out. And you have other cows that are just watching this happen. Like, yo, next, and they're in line, right? So you have that when it comes to large scale. And the whole point is people really don't know how that stuff is happening. You just see that, okay, we have ground beef. We go to the market, and sometimes it's pattied out. It's already patties. And sometimes it's in a tube. Sometimes it's in this nice little design, right? So we see that part, and then sometimes you just have like it looks like beef, right? It hasn't been through a grinder and in a tube, and it comes out in these little squiggly lines. Like, no, you just see like a thigh, and you can see a little bit of the fat on it. You can see some of the meat on it, and then you see the bone. So you can see stuff like that, but you're not actually seeing. And the word that's coming to my mind is brutality, but that's just a part of it. I mean, for as horrible as we may seem, if you were a coyote, a pack of coyotes, I mean, you're going to rip this stuff to shreds. So, and a lot of times, I mean, just rip them up, split them from their bowels, and let it just spill out, and just, look, we were going to eat right while you're alive. Cue the music. Right? So but that's okay. Because, look, a coyote, but a human being, right? So I'm not here to say what is brutal and what is not, but that's just the word that came to my mind, is the brutality. But that process of killing and exterminating and like we're so far removed from it that we really don't understand, and we haven't experienced what it is. So it's one thing of knowing something, but it's another of experiencing it. And we spoke about this before on the podcast, that experience, theory sounds good, but experience feels bad. We can say, look, you're gonna do 2 years in prison, right? You can say that, but to experience it is a lot more than just than that phrase. Or to think it, right? We can think, okay, I do 2 years in prison. That moment of thought is boom, you're in prison, and then boom, now you're out. And 2 years have passed, just like a memory. But to experience something is totally different. So we don't really have that experience. So we go to the market and we see all of this. We see Purdue and we see all of this stuff, but we're not experiencing the reality of produce. And because we haven't experienced the reality of produce, then we truly don't know it. We don't know the smell. We don't know the smell of death. Like, that in itself is crazy. That you have people, there are people on this planet, human beings on this planet, who does not know the smell of death and decay. Decaying beings, like there are humans who they do not know that smell. Like, that is the same as somebody saying that you live on this earth but you've never drank water. Right? Like, that's the smell of death is synonymous with water and air. It's all around us, but we've built this prison for ourselves. We've built this zoo for ourselves to where we've eliminated knowledge, or we've eliminated the experience of that smell, of that odor. We've eliminated it. We've eliminated the smell of life. We've eliminated the smell of death. Like, that's how deep we are in the zoo. That people don't know what life smells like. People don't know what death smells like. And we're alive and we die. But in this zoo that we have created, we've pushed that out. We've pushed it out. Just push it out. So now you have human beings who do not know what life smells like, and they do not know what death smells like. I mean, that is crazy. That is crazy. That is what is crazy. And the fact that people, they don't even question it. They don't even question it. Like, animals, they can smell us. A lot of your, especially prey, who it's in their best interest to get far away from us as possible, they can smell us from miles away. And if you see like a deer, or you see that stuff in the wild, like, you have to be really tricky to even get up on them. You have to really mask your smell, because as soon as they smell you, they get away. And some of you may not have, been around large herds of cattle, but they have a smell. And when you get like a whole bunch of pigs together, and a whole bunch of cows, and a whole bunch of chickens, you get them all together, a whole bunch of deer, right? You get a whole bunch of animals together that are the same. They have a unique smell. It's a smell that once you've been around it enough, you can distinguish one from the other. You can tell, okay, I'm getting closer to the cows. I'm getting closer to pigs. I'm getting closer to deer. I'm getting closer. Like, you can tell, right? But when you first encounter it, it may all seem the same at first, but that smell, you can, okay, I'm getting this is this and this is that, and that sense, it takes a while before you can distinguish, okay, this is this is that. It takes a while. You have to really be in it and really be around it. And that's the same for death. You can tell which animal this is. Right? You can tell it. You can tell, okay, boom, that's this, that's that. Just on the smell. This is a part of life. And there was a time in human history where you couldn't escape it. You couldn't escape. This is the smell of man. And your senses were heightened. And you, look, I don't know what to expect. I don't know if they're going to be friend or foes. I don't know what to expect. And depending on the smell, you could tell, okay, just from the diet. All right, well, these people, they're not eating people. Like, they're not eating people. So that's a plus. All right. Humans are not on the menu here. You could tell that from the smell of people, that human flesh is not on the menu. So, okay. Right? You could tell. But you can also smell and tell what they're eating. Just by the smell of them. Oh man, they not eating right. And you can still do this today. But when we go back 6,000 years, 12,000 years, depending on, what you believe, how far back we can go, right? So, well, some of us, we only can go back 6,000 years, right? That was the beginning of time, was 6,000 years. Others, but I feel like people are acknowledging that, okay, the earth is older than 6,000 years. Right? People are acknowledging that. So man's time is older than 6,000 years. I think because people can say, yeah, well, the earth and this has been around for millions of years, and, humans are just using small scale to represent vast time, right? Now we're talking about specific religious groups who some sects believe the exact words as they were written down. Some, so they look, it's this and everything else is just a lie. And then others are starting to adopt modern science into their belief. So then they are adjusting. So when I say, all right, we can go back 12,000 years, I think that we can do that no matter who's listening. We're not offending people when we say 12,000 years ago. That people knew the smell of life and death. And now we come back to this time, and there are people who don't know. They do not know. They don't know the smell of another person. They believe that when their odor, some people don't even know their own odor. They don't know what they truly smell like. And they don't know that their diet affects how their overall body smells. So now when we come back, so we was all on this long tangent, but when we come back to Hitler and the Jews, the nation did not know the severity of what was happening. That, look, they are killing people. They're killing people. Large scale, like industry. They didn't know. So that type of awareness, we have to always keep that with us, that we can be led down a path and we don't know reality because we have this idea, because of how things are right now, that if we see it, if we have a visual representation of it, then we know it. But that isn't the same as experience. Just because you have a visual representation does not mean that you know it. That doesn't mean it. So just because we know, all right, I know what racism looks like. You have a visual representation of racism doesn't mean that you know racism. Like, you have to experience it, because once you've experienced racism, then you know it. Just because you have a visual representation, that doesn't mean that you know it. You don't know it just because you have a visual representation. We have to be very clear of that. Because when I say, okay, I'm going to walk from, I want you to just pull out your phone, look at the map. I'm going to walk from New York to LA. You can look at that map. You can look at one point. We're going to put a point on the map. This is New York. Put a point on LA. We can go into MapQuest, put our start point at some address in New York, 53rd Street, Manhattan. And we're going to set our next point to somewhere in LA, right? Rosedale, or we're going to set our point. Then we're going to hit start, and it's going to give us it's going to give us that blue line. It's going to tell us how long of a drive it is, right? Let's say it's, I want to say it's probably like 34 to 44 hours, right? It's like a 34 to 44 hour drive. But remember, we said we're going to walk. We can actually put in walk now, and it'll tell us, okay, it's going to be like two weeks. It might be a month, right? Who knows? To that walk is going to be long. That's going to be like I said, it's going to be like a month long walk. So we can see it and we know it. Okay, it's a month long walk. We know we know how long a month is. We know we can see that line. We can see the line, the pinpoints in New York and LA. We can see it. We can see the swivel. We can zoom in. We can actually zoom in and actually go on Google Earth and look at the actual physical terrain. We can do all of that in about 30 minutes. We can do all of that in 30 minutes. But when we get out there to walk, it's going to be something different. And when you walk it, you're going to know it differently than a person who has looked on the map and they've pinpointed this and they've done, and that person can guide you, right? That person, if you had that person on in your ear, you got your earbuds, and that person is guiding you. Hey, okay, you're coming up on this. I want you to make a left, right? That person can guide you, right? But that experience and of true knowing, this is what we're going to label true knowing. To experience something is to truly know it, to know what it feels, to know how it smells, to know those inclines, and to really know the terrain of the earth, because that's what you're going to know when you walk it. You're going to know that look, the elevation, I know that y'all said that the elevation changes here, but you can feel it. So when I tell you that the elevation changes, I want you to know that I can feel it. I still can feel it. When we walk from one area to another, those smells, and that's something, we take smells for granted. We take smelling for granted. We do. We really take smelling for granted. And it's so important. It's so important. All those different smells from New York to LA. Being able to smell predators, being able to smell people. I remember I think I told y'all about the time when I don't think I told y'all. And I don't want to get off on and go down another lane because I want to get to the conspiracies that that our viewer wanted me to break down and elaborate on. So we're gonna use our cue right now so I can grab some water, because this one is original. not the ideas on a conspiracy, but I think we definitely need to use our cue. All right, so had to get a drink, had to get some gummy bears. Gummy bears bouncing here and there and everywhere. Okay, so now we're going to speak on the Hitler incident. Conspiracy, the Hitler conspiracy. And that conspiracy, for some of you may not have heard this one, but Hitler did not die in World War II. And the more and more I really look at it, the more and more I believe, and I know that's true, that he did not die in World War II. That he went to South America like the other Nazis who got asylum or who got a pardon from the United States. And I think the big question that people want to know is, why? Right? Why get a pass? Why have a big cover up? Like, why? Then why would the Russians agree to the cover up? Because Russia will have to be in on this cover up to some extent. And like the Germans did the Russians horribly. The Russians were the ones that were fighting and lost a lot of soldiers. They lost a lot of lives, and they were just treated horribly, right? So then why would they participate in this cover-up? And the number one thing is money. The number one thing is gold. That is That's the number one thing. And now that we're getting, we're going to be treading on this land is full of minefields, right? What do they call it? Landmines, right? This terrain is full of landmines. Okay, so if you guys would like to chime in on this one, you want to voice your opinion, you can call 304-410-0363. You can text it as well, so you don't need to leave a voicemail. You can just send a text, and I'll get to it, and I'll respond to your text. That's 304-410-0363. So I want you guys to really ask yourself, because remember what we said, that visual representation is not the same as experience. So when I pose this question, a lot of you guys are going to speak from a visual representation. You're going to construct what it would look like and what it would feel like in your mind. And then you're going to say that, boom, this is how it would have been. This is how I would have done it, right? This is my answer. But I want you guys to go just a little bit deeper. I want you to go 1, 2, 3 levels deeper. Because that's really what it's going to take for you to answer this question. You have to go 3 levels deep to experience the true gravity of the situation. Right? That's the thing. You have to experience gravity to truly know it. We can say, oh, the moon, space, the vacuum of space is like the ocean. It's like the ocean. So, we go into the ocean and we can feel we can feel density, we can feel buoyancy, we can feel the pressure of the water, right? Some of you haven't been deep enough to really feel that crushing feeling. You think, 10 feet is the same as 50? Is the same as 100? Like it's not. Is the same as a mile? A mile underwater feels the same as 10 feet? No, right? So what I'm going to say is, how much would it cost for you to sell out your family? How much would it cost? And we'll make it easy. Not even your immediate family, not your spouse or your kids. Not your mom or your father. Not your grandmother or your grandfather. Not mama. Not pawpaw. No. Let's sell out some cousins. How much would it cost to sell out your cousin? Not your favorite cousin. Okay? Everybody got their favorite cousins. All right? Not your favorite cousins. The other ones. The ones that you barely know. Matter of fact, you don't know them at all. I just brought them over here and just told them that y'all are cousins. How much would you sell them out for? How much would you sell out a stranger for? Because remember, like I said, a lot of you guys are having visual representations right now. You don't know the gravity of this question. You don't know what that gravity feels like. You don't know what that pressure feels like. You may think that it's like being under 3 feet of water. But you have no idea what 10 miles underwater feels like. You have no idea what 10 miles you're underwater. You're 10 miles deep underwater. And just everything that goes along with that experience. You have no idea what that feels like. So when you tell me and you're saying to yourself, oh, I would never, oh, I would never, oh, I would never. Okay. Let me let you know what that means. Oh, I would never equates to around probably, I would say 10, 30K. 30K, 100K tops. All right. And I'm talking about crispy, blue face $100 bills, y'all. Dollar bills, y'all. That's what that means. I would never means that your maximum bid is $100,000. $100,000 cash. And you selling out everybody who I just said, hey, how much would that cost to sell them out? 100K. You're going to sell them out. You're going to sell them out. Because the magnitude, see, it's easy. It's easy to be a vegetarian when food is plentiful. It's easy not to eat pork when food is plentiful. It's easy to not eat something when it's plentiful. But when it becomes scarce, then I don't eat XYZ is now a luxury. And all of that goes out of the window. So I bring this up because when we talk about Hitler and we talk about Russia being in on it, they would have had to been in on it. They would have had to been in on it because of one thing that I'm going to say. This is the reason why. This is the reason why they would have had to been in on it. And that's because here, let's see this. They don't let, or they won't let anyone examine the body. Examine the remains. Like they won't let anybody test it. They won't let anybody examine it to verify if that is his true remains. Like they won't let anyone do that. So that means to me that they are in on it. That's what that means to me. That they have some type of hand in on it because they know the outcome of that. And that's what makes it a true conspiracy now. Because you have larger parties in on something, trying to keep something a secret. Right? Now, they won't let anyone test the body, test the remains, to verify that it is Hitler. The other thing that stands out is that America, the United States of America, and to the republic for which we stand, acknowledges that they have done an investigation. They have acknowledged that they've done an investigation into Hitler being still alive and living in Venezuela, in Little Germany. And their conclusion is that that is a lie and that he is dead. Now, if Russia will not let anyone test the remains of the body recovered, so then how can America say that it has done an investigation and confirms that Hitler is dead? Like, they can't confirm, because Russia will not let mass public testing. And we can say some of the reasons why they wouldn't allow that, right? We can argue for it could be a witch hunt, right? Hitler has kids. He has a family that has survived, and we don't want people to persecute his family, because we know that that happens, that has happened in European history, that a king was killed and his offspring, they were killed as well. Right? We know that has happened time and time again. So that could be the argument, right? But we're still in conspiracy land, right? We're still in conspiracy land with that, all right? Because then it's, well, is his family, is his offspring, is his DNA somewhere high up in the ranks? Right? Like, who is his family that they're trying to protect by not releasing his DNA? And it serves Russia no gain. Like, Russia doesn't gain anything from exposing whoever Hitler's descendants are. Russia doesn't gain anything, because, like I said, like, they lost so much to the Nazi party. Like, just as much as, I can't say just as much as the Jews, right? The Jews were the ultimate sacrifice. Like, what they have experienced. Remember, we talked, like, this is not a visual representation. This is an experience. What they have experienced is horrible. Just like that shooting last week. It is just horrible. Just all of the ones who survived. Right? The survivors of last week's tragedy carries a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, a lot of anger. They carry a lot. They carry a lot. So when we speak, and we bring it back to the Jews, they're going to be like that. The survivors, they're going to carry a lot of pain, a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, like, just their world has been drastically changed by the brutality of one party, of one nation. And the Russians, they were fighting against Germany. So they experienced brutality. They've experienced a lot, right? So when we bring up a conspiracy about protecting Hitler's offsprings and Hitler's descendants, and this is the reason why they're not releasing his body or the remains to be tested, and because this conspiracy says that Hitler is dead and that he died during World War II, and that the reason why they're not releasing it is to protect some offsprings, to protect descendants. And remember, we talked about, okay, so how much would it cost? How much would it cost for you to sell out your family? Right? How much would it cost? And remember, okay, all right, you're up on land walking around. Like, you don't really know the gravity. You don't know that pressure of being 10 miles underwater. You don't know that pressure. So you're speaking about something that you really don't know. You don't know what that feels like, right? So when we come back to our Hitler didn't die, then we check, okay, so how come Russia is not releasing the body and it's not releasing the remains to be tested under the assumption that Hitler was alive after World War II ended? It's safe to say that, and we can tell just from the power that Russia rose to, that they made a deal. That not all of Germany's technology, not all of German knowledge came over to America. Not all of it. Not all of it. Some of it probably went to Russia. Some of that technology, even if it was developed in America, that technology was shared. Because Russia they're a part of the conspiracy. They're part of the conspiracy. And I'm sure that, like, there's been, and this is not like a basis for my argument, but this is just to point out a fallacy in the thinking, a flaw in the thinking. Okay, because I know how it is when people start arguing for something, then they bring up a TV show. It's like, man, are you telling me that slavery didn't exist and your reference, your evidence is Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers episode 342? Like, oh, man. Like, oh, man. Look, I'm telling you that JFK was not assassinated by one guy. It was multiple guys. And if you look at Darkwing Duck episode 3, like, oh, man. So once you bring up TV shows, I mean, like, yo, whatever your argument, it just goes south. Okay, so I want to acknowledge that when I say, because I'm bringing up the fallacies of the TV show, and because this is shaping thought. People think that this is how it goes, and remember, it feels a little bit different when you're 10 miles underwater. It feels a little bit different. Now, I'm sure in shows like Game of Thrones or Vikings or any type of show where you have your Bin Laden type of character. You have your evil character, right? And they come in and they neutralize this evil character, right? They neutralize them, and they're trying to figure out what to do with them. They're trying to figure out what to do with them, and and then the person will, so they'll have them in prison for a little bit, and then they figure out, okay, look, we need to do this, and then let's say they execute them. But what they don't talk about is the army that this person has brought together. The army that this person has brought together. The value that this person has created. Because that's what we cannot ignore the achievements, the charisma, just the presence of Hitler. Like, we cannot ignore that. And we know that it's a system that props up a person. We can think of any artist that it's not just a person. Like, we can think of, Kim Jong-un, Mussolini, Stalin, George W. Bush, Obama, right? Putin, Bin Laden. Like, there's so many different leaders on earth, right? Tupac, Biggie, Shakira, Madonna, Beyonce, right? Lil Wayne. There's so many leaders on earth. But what they all have in common is they have money backing them. They have money and they have followers. They have an army backing them. They just don't speak with no one holding them up. They have people, right? They have what a term we use in the industry, ass in seats. They have proven that they can put asses in seats. Like all of these leaders, all of these leaders throughout history, they have proven that. Now, another thing that they have, if we look at them, we can say that the idea is not just their idea alone, that they are the representative of the idea. They are the embodiment of the idea, but they are not the idea. The idea lives in the people. And the people select, look, this is the person who we feel like, they are representing my ideas. So when we, in these shows, when they capture a person, right? When they capture a person, they're now putting the idea back against the wall. Because if you have an idea, if you have a certain type of thing, and someone falls, well, then now you're up, right? the law of the vacuum. That once something, an opening or a hole has been opened up or created, then something will fill that space. Right? Now we know that we did get some of the Nazi Party. That those scientists and those doctors and the researchers, that they came to America and they were granted asylum. They were granted immunity for the things that they have created and the things that they've done, as long as they came over here and they helped us achieve whatever we're trying to do. And we know that some of those scientists they went to Russia as well. So Russia got some of them, America got some of them, London, right? South America got the majority, to the point to where you have a community in Venezuela that speaks German. There's a whole big community. So you have to know that they wanted to capture Hitler, not just kill him. They wanted to capture him. Just like other things, right? When a person wants to capture something, then the game is a lot different than if a person just wants to kill something, right? If we want to go and capture an animal, we have to watch it. We have to watch it for a while. We have to watch it, make sure that it feels safe. We want it to feel like there is no threat. We want the environment. We want its environment to seem normal. We want to learn the routines. We want to learn, okay, watch it for a while. Check the routine. Check the pattern. All right, this is where it comes, this is where it goes, this is that, okay? And then we want to come up with, now, if we're trying to capture a creature that doesn't want to be caught and that actually it is looking for us, is trying to kill us, well, then now we have to neutralize all of its defenses. We have to neutralize. So in the case of, all right, if we're trying to capture Hitler, then we have to neutralize his soldiers, his defense, like the compound. Like we have to neutralize all of that. Make it all seem as though everything is okay, everything is normal. As we get closer and closer, everything is normal until our hands is right around his neck. Two other hands has grabbed his hands and two other hands have grabbed his feet. Two other hands have pried his mouth open so that he can't bite down on some cyanide capsules right? Then once we have him neutralized, then we do the search. Okay? We strip him naked with his mouth open, right? He can't close, he can't bite down because he might have some type of cyanide capsule in his, his tooth, his back tooth. This is not a tooth, it's really some type of cyanide capsule. You just got to bite down and then No, we don't want any of that, okay? So we pry his mouth open, we strip him naked, check his cavities, make sure nothing is up his ass, right? Send him through X-ray. And we're talking about methods of that day, of World War II, right? The 50s. So we're checking them. We do thorough cavity searches, right? This is what we're going to do. After we exhaust, like you have to exhaust. It's not just, he's all right. No, check everything. His feet, his toes, his leg. I want everything checked. Everything checked. Then we get to his mouth, check his teeth, make sure, there are no capsules, no way for him to check out. And then the interrogation. Right now, remember, this is the great Hitler that we're talking about. The guy that is synonymous with evil. He is evil manifested in the flesh. If anyone had to be evil, in our time, it's going to be Hitler. Right? So now that you have captured Hitler, now we have to say, now what's the value? What's the value in his life? Because, all right, if we say that he went to Venezuela or he went to South America, why? Why would America take that deal? Right? Why would America take that deal? What does America have to gain from that? Here, let me take this. So I want to say that I was talking about why would we allow Hitler to live in South America, right? What will we gain? Because if we want the technology, if we want his scientists, if we want the German ingenuity, if we want those things, once we have it captured, once we have him neutralized, then we don't need him. We don't need him to get the scientists and to get the workers. Once we have him captured, then we can easily take them, right? But I think it's the will to work, right? Because remember, this was a conspiracy now. This is true that we did have German war criminals, and we gave them asylum and we gave them work. Look, just step away from the Nazi party and go ahead and work, and you're going to go under this identity, right? You're going to go under this new, so we've done those deals, and no one spoke up and said, well, such and such he was also in on it too. He was this and he was that. So nobody ratted their brothers out. Said, yeah, it was 13 of us, right? So nobody did that. So the only reason that I could see for us to actually let Hitler live and to send him in South America, it would be to make sure that the Germans that we did have and that the world had, all the nations grabbed up some German scientists and engineers and so forth. It was with the assumption that, okay, we're going to work for you if you let Hitler live. Right? So that would be the agreed upon thing, and it would be okay. And you guys wouldn't speak about each other or the fact that he was alive. I could see that, right? It's just like a Alpo up in New York, right? I mean, they gave, once he got out, put him in witness protection program and just let him, look, you're Muhammad whoever, and you're in Connecticut. No one knows who you are. Now, the culture, the Black American culture, screams and yearns for celebrity. We love celebrity. And so you would say to yourself, I mean, but could Hitler just do a 180 from, okay, he was this huge figure, he's a superstar, he's a pop star. And then by will and by just force of the world, you have to go and become just a regular Joe down in Venezuela. And you can't speak of this. We don't want to hear anything about Nazi parties. Like, we don't want to hear anything about anything. You just go down there and we don't want to hear about you again, right? Now, like I said, the Black American in me finds that difficult. But I am aware that white Americans, that's not difficult to them. Each president, each celebrity. Now, we know that some of them, I mean, it's hard, and they get on drugs and they get on alcohol to try to cope with that high, that rush. Comedians, right? Comedians suffer. Once they get up on stage and they have that huge audience, but I think it's just at a certain level. I think that when you're small time, you yearn for it, right? But when you have hit critical mass, it's like, all right. Right? We know that he was on meth. He was methed up. I mean, so he was a drug addict. We know some certain things that wasn't revealed before, and we have that knowledge now. So that's really that's the biggest question: is why would they let him live? Right? Why would they let him live? And that's a question that I would just really have to ask myself, is it really worth, could they get that type of leverage? Because clearly the scientists want to live, right? So it's not like, scientists and workers, they're not just gonna, have cyanide pills and they want to live. Normal people, under normal circumstances, if your life is going well and everything is moving in your favor, you want to live. So, they wanted to live. But what type of deal are we going to make so that Hitler lives? And, and that's the question. That's the question. What type of deal would it be? So I'm not really sure. Like, I'm not sure of that plan. Okay, they all band together and say, hey, if Hitler lives, then we'll come and work with you. Nah, because you don't need it, right? If they believe that Hitler's dead and now we're going to start killing the rest of y'all, unless you come over here and work, then look, I'm working, right? I'm going to work. You're going to get this cushy job, like, you're going to be making 100 bands, and we're talking about in the 50s and the 60s, Like, yo, that's, man, sign me up, right? So they don't need Hitler to secure the work. So that is the question, right? And this stems from one of the conversations because our caller, he wanted me to go in on the makeup in the Hollywood in politics, right? The Hollywood in war and the Hollywood and the secrecy of that era. And we're seeing it now. We're seeing it now. We're seeing it in the UFO sightings, right? Like, it's not UFOs. This is human technology. This is human advancement. Like, we're not showing our hand. So the public believes the news is showing one level, but we're actually 3 or 4 levels deep. And this has been accurate and true throughout our modern history. Throughout modern history. Like the way that people are using samples now with the music and just music processing, and like all of this was available 10 years ago, 20 years ago, but only to a select few. It was the way it was made. It was done through a price barrier. Money is what kept people at bay. We're just now getting our hands on this access. That's just like with the streaming services and the platforms, just like with websites, right? Hosting on servers and so forth. Like all of that stuff you were able to do it by yourself years ago, 20 years ago. But it just wasn't available to the masses. Cell phones, right? Cell phones were available. Mobile phones and so forth was available in the 80s. But they weren't available I didn't get mine till like 97. I think is when I got my first cell phone. Right? So it was held behind a paywall. So human technology is advanced, and we've always blamed it on UFOs. Why? Because UFOs, he who controls the gold makes the rules. UFO represents gold as far as destruction and warfare. UFO is the pinnacle. If you have alien weapons, then your weapons are going to be superior to anything that man has on this planet. This is the belief. So to play upon the belief is just we just need to convince people that we have alien weaponry, and they will be afraid. If we have something that can go in and kill a DNA sequence, it's specific. It can specifically target a DNA sequence to one specific strand, to the person. And that person goes, it's like, man, what in the world? Right? That's alien weaponry. Stuff that we don't understand. Right? Stuff that we don't understand. But then we have to bring up the Bob Lazar. Is that true? What he encountered, I believe that he believes it is true. That he believes that it is alien technology, but the truth is that it is human technology. Like, that's the truth. That it's human technology. Now, am I saying that aliens exist? Or am I saying that because I'm saying that this alien technology and all of this stuff is not real, that it's really human technology? So am I saying that aliens don't exist? And I think that they do exist. I think that they do exist. But what is profitable? Because an alien could come and land on this planet from a meteor, right? And become a plant. Like, that's not profitable. And just be living a regular life on this planet. They're happy to finally be out of a vacuum of space. They just want to look, man, I just want to live. I don't want to hurt any other species or any other living creatures, or just, I don't want to disrupt the ecosystem of this planet, right? But that's not profitable. That type of alien is not profitable. If we find an alien that lands, they're from some other planet, they land on here from a meteor, and they're just a plant. It's just like some grass or some marsh, and it grows just like our grass and marsh, and it just, like, that's not captivating. Oh, we have this grass from the solar system QXZZ, and people watch the grass, and the grass just behaves just like regular grass. It's not trying to overthrow the other grass. It's just like, that's not gonna sell. People want an alien that resembles man, that actually has a threat. That if we learned that kangaroos are from space, if we learned that there's a frog or some other fish that's in the water right now and it's from some other galaxy. There's a frog hopping around on Earth somewhere and it's from some other galaxy. And it's not eating all the frogs. It's not, look, man, other creatures from Earth are eating them, and they just fall right in line. They're eating some bugs. That's not going to make the news for long. Like, okay, we're going to see this grass, and once we hear that, like, it's not anything, it's not spectacular, it's just not, look, there's no infiltration system from some other life creature that's actually using this grass. Like, once we establish that none of that is happening, this is just some grass, and it's all over the world now. It's like, and it's from some galaxy. Okay, we all right, of course we're gonna want to know where it's from, but that's not gonna be as riveting as some humanoid based, or some being able to stand upright and fly and be advanced, more advanced than us. Like, that's what's selling, right? That's what people want. People love theater, right? We talked about this before. People love theater. So when we're presenting aliens to each other, it's with theater. We're presenting theater. We're presenting the fight between good and evil. Man is good. The aliens are evil. Or when we invade their land, we are evil. The aliens are good. They're just trying to protect and stop the invasion. If only we could, right? So this is just theater. And we love theater. We love it. So to cook up a story that, yes, this is advanced technology, they're far more superior, and like, once we start talking like that, like, that's theater. Is it real? one thing that I know just observing nature is like there is no story. If you're in the wrong place at the wrong time with a pack of wolves or a bear or a bull or anything that can kill you, like it will kill you. And it's not thinking that you're good or evil. It's either territorial because of genetics. Like it's genetics. And if people have killed enough of them and the others escape, then they'll avoid humans. And that's bears. That's any creature on earth. If these creatures watch their brothers and their sisters, and they watch them be mauled and killed and eaten, like they're going to associate, okay, humans, this is what they do. So, stay away from them. And they'll avoid us. And that's any creature. So I believe that, like that is alien life. So alien life, yes, it's here. Yes, it is here. And we could be a product of it because all the creation stories, I mean, that's really what it speaks to, that we are from somewhere else. Right? So it's speaking to us being aliens, actually. And we're gonna get into that. Remember, we started with the creation stories, and I do want to speak on this concept of we build zoos, right? / prisons. Whether you call it a zoo or you call it a prison, but that's what we do. We've done it for ourselves. We do it to plants. We do it to every living creature on this planet, right? We want to recreate the habitat. We want to shape it in the vision that we want for it and give the living creature the environment that we want to give, that we deem as safe for this creature, and we do it for ourselves. So we're definitely gonna speak on that. But as far as the Hitler, I believe that the biggest question that we need to really answer is why would we allow, and not just we as America, but why would we as the world, why would we allow Hitler to live in South America? That's the big question, is why would we allow? Because we know that his workers, we know that we allowed them, but we know that they worked. So did he work as well, right? Did we have him working? So, and did he create the strife from the 50s on forward, right? So the 60s, 70s, 80s and all of that. Like, is this the Hitler vision? Did he do that? Was he working for the United States? Like, what nation was he working for, and what capacity? Because this zoo that we call a nation, it has properties, it has laws, right? Like it has rules. It's not just on its own. It is being governed. There's a reason why Black Americans in this country all resemble each other. And I'm talking about as far as attitude and what to expect. Like, there's a reason why. There's a reason why we're like this. And this isn't to say that it's good or bad. This is just, no matter where I go in America, if I go to a Black community, right? I am Black, so that's where I would go, is to a Black community. They're going to resemble, like if I go to Memphis, if I go to Cali, if I go to Seattle, if I go to Arizona, if I go to Maryland, if I go to New York, New Jersey, Florida, Wisconsin, South Dakota, like no matter where I go in America, like it's going to be, in the Black American experience is going to be the same. Now we know that minstrelsy was the glue that held America and held American culture together during the 1800s. Right? Minstrelsies, they would go and perform all around the country so everybody knew the same songs, everybody heard the same jokes. Like that's how American culture was created. Because without minstrelsy, then you would have people in New York and people in Virginia, they would have different jokes, different shows, different songs. Like they wouldn't be able to communicate. They wouldn't be able to communicate. There would be no way. But minstrels and the minstrel shows, it brought America together. Whereas, look, it's one nation now. So we know, okay, minstrel shows, and then we have radio, right? So these are some properties. These are things that are governing and that are making everything united. Because you have your different dialects in America. You have your different accents, and then you have your different slang terminologies, right? But they don't deviate too far away. Why? Because of television, because of internet, because we have this checks and balances system to where it tells you, yo, look, this is as far as you can go. You have to stay within these walls. So that's why we don't have 75, 85 different languages in America. We got different dialects, or different accents and different slang. But for the most part, it is still the same language. And once you hang around certain people for a while, you start to understand, okay, all right, this is what they're saying, right? It's still the same language. They're just still speaking English. But the internet and radio and TV has been holding all of this stuff together. It's been keeping it consistent, keeping it the same, keeping it a nation, a culture. Everyone knows the same music. Everyone knows the same jokes. Everyone knows the same political ideas, right? It's either one or the other. Like, so this has been set up. Right, but there has been a turn. So that's what I'm saying. You know, the shift far as the racial war, because things did shift in the 50s, in the 60s, right? We had the revolution. Well, you know, it wasn't a revolution, but we had a lot of the civil rights movement, right? You have the civil rights movement. So, you know, that's the question. That is the question, is why? Why would we want to keep Hitler alive as the world, not just as the U.S.? Because, you know, I don't know if the U.S. got him, if the U.S. is protecting him. I just know that the U.S. is a part of the cover-up, because you cannot publish, this is, you know, FBI files that have been released. You cannot say that that it's confirmed if we know that Russia is not allowing testing, because Russia and U.S. does not have a lovey-dovey relationship to where Russia's going to say, okay, U.S., you guys can come in and test. No, that's not happening. And that has never happened. Right? Now, our relationship has been better, but you know, we're talking about the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. Like, yo, our relationship with Russia hasn't been, you know, we've never been buddy-buddy as far as the media is telling us. Now, what happens on a higher level, I don't know. I don't know that, right? I'm not up there. I can't speak on that. But I do know that Russia is not allowing anyone, any nation, anything they're not allowing access to that. So for the U.S. to say that they have confirmed Hitler's death, then that lets me know that no, they're in on it as well. So that's that. Hopefully you guys have gained some type of thinking, right? I've provoked thought, and that's really all. That's all we want to do. It's just we want to exercise our mind. We want to continue to think and continue to question. We're not questioning everything, but we must question everything, and it must make sense. So, with that being said, Reese's, PCC.